Good morning, boys and girls of the internet. Today is Thursday, August 23rd, 2018. It's me, vlog number 234. And I'm going to put a lot more video game footage on some of these vlogs coming up pretty soon, because it's getting pretty dark in the morning when I leave for work. But, on to the subject at hand. I won't be the only one reporting on this or mentioning this in my vlog as it comes to photography news, but Nikon has finally shown off their long-awaited mirrorless camera systems. Professional mirrorless camera systems, I should say. Years ago, they came out with the N1, I think they called it. It was a little small mirrorless camera. It was meant to compete with the NEX line. But that kind of flopped, and they discontinued that. This is more of a professional line, meant to be on the same level as, say, A7 line from Sony. Now, of course, I've already watched 4 or 5 different photographers last night, all with showing the same information, or generally the same information. They had their own commentary on it, and so. If you want to find out information about the camera, you can definitely look those people up, or just find them out. If you just Google the names of these cameras, you'll find information in the specs. I'm not going to be reading off the specs to you right now because, well, I'm driving. I'm not going to read specs while I'm driving. I'm just kind of going to add my own little 2 cents into the mix. So what did Nikon announce? 2 cameras. Same exact body. Now the body style, they definitely went for more reminiscent of a DSLR style, I should say, in terms of ruggedness. It definitely doesn't, it doesn't look like a slick futuristic camera as, say, maybe a Sony A7 might look like. That definitely bucked the trend of what a professional camera could look like. But this definitely has the reminiscent traits of a DSLR, but of course in a much smaller mirrorless body. So the 2 cameras they announced is the Nikon Z6 and Z7. Sorry, Z6 and Z7. I was watching a video from dpreview.com last night, and some of the guys that they have on that show, they're Canadian, and they don't say the letter Z as Z. They say Z. I never understood it. It's something that's hauled over from Europe, I guess. But they're making jokes that, Nikon even said that globally these are called Z, not Z. Even if you're in a country that says the letter Z as Z. As they say, it's a Z6 and a Z7. In my mind, they should have called it N, like N6 and N7. In fact, that's what I thought they were called. And I made a mistake. I commented on a photographer's Instagram account, and I said, it's oh yeah, it's weird that they're calling this like a N6 and N7. Is that almost like how Sony has a A6000 and a A7? The 6 and 7, that's too much of a coincidence. But they're not N's or Z's. I digress. The N6 is obviously their lower end model, more of a kind of a do-it-all type of camera at a reasonable price. It is meant to compete directly with the A7 III from Sony. Price exactly the same, $2,000. Approximately the same sensor resolution, about 24 megapixels. And most other specs are pretty similar. Now, both cameras have a better EVF than what most Sonys have. Focus systems, not quite as many focusing points as what Sonys have. But, it's probably going to be still pretty good compared to a regular DSLR might have. There was, though, a commenter that looked at it and said, oh, look at the N6. But there's one thing that's lacking on it that the A7 III has is dual memory card slot. The Nikon N6 and the N7 only has a single card slot, which that's concerning for a lot of professionals. Professionals want that redundancy of having the ability to capture two cards. Someone likes to capture all their stills to one and all their videos to other, or RAWs to another, or some just want both cards to be copied to like the exact same pictures on both, or just in case a card fails. If you're in the middle of an important shoot, you don't want to lose your images in the middle of the shoot. So that's a definite concern, and it's valid. Why Nikon didn't decide to put two card slots on there? Well, both cameras have the same body style, same exact body design. I would have thought that maybe the lower end one maybe had one, and maybe they could have fit it in the higher end model. Maybe kind of changed up a little bit, maybe thicken the back just slightly or something, just to be able to fit in a second card slot. But the way they designed it, again, it's supposed to be a mirrorless camera, it's supposed to be smaller, but yet it has a pretty beefy grip on it. And the reason for that is because they're still using the traditional Nikon battery, which is supposed to be really good in battery life. That's a big concern for mirrorless shooters for a long time, is that battery life is a concern. Up until recently, Sony had that issue where they're using small batteries. They recently, with the newer models, they came out with bigger batteries. So Nikon, smart of them to use their DSLR size batteries for this one. So I'm assuming that that battery is going to be in that grip area, that they just didn't have the room. They simply just did not have the room for two memory card slots because of that big battery. So all you people have been giving Sony shit for years for having poor battery life. Well, there's reasons for it. Size. And wow, look at that sunrise right there. I want to be able to take a picture of that, but I'm driving. It looks nice. Again, I digress. Maybe I'll be able to take a picture right here. Okay. I ninja'd that. Came to a stop sign, or stoplight I should say. Took my camera out, took a picture of this beautiful sunrise. I'll pop this up here. What did I say? All in all, I think Nikon's on a pretty good path here with these cameras. They're definitely prioritizing their battery life because they want to use those batteries, and I'm sure they didn't want to design a whole new battery for these new cameras. That will probably just piss people off, that they had to have another new battery to go along with the kit. But again, trade-off. You can't have two memory cards. Now, maybe in the future, if they follow Sony's model of updating their cameras every year or so, maybe they'll come out with a Mark II in a year and add a second slot. I don't know. The whole camera itself, though, is definitely, both of them are very fully featured. I mentioned the Z6 has 24 megapixels. The other one is a little bit higher end in terms of focusing features, but the sensor in it is about twice as much. It's about 45 megapixels, and that one competes on par with the Sony A7R III. So in pricing wise, it's almost similar. I think they said around $3,400 for that one. These are all body alone prices. $2,000 for the A6 and the Z6, and $3,400 for the Z7. And all in all, both cameras, like I said, they both look excellent. They have a new lens mount. It's a lot bigger than their old lens mounts, and it's supposed to be able to have them have lens designs with a lot wider apertures. However, their first 3 lenses that are coming out for it, I don't remember exactly which ones they are. They're like your pretty much standard, like 2 primes in the zoom, but none of them go below 1.8. It's 1.8, it's fine, but a lot of professionals really like going for the, wider apertures, the faster glass. They need at least like a 1.4. And Nikon was saying, it's like, these would be able to have like easily 1.2s and even f0.95 apertures. And we don't have those yet. They're going to have 3 lenses, and 1.8 is going to be the best you can get. I think the zoom lens is like f4. But at the same time, you're not going to have to wait for any adapters for your old glass. They're releasing, right at product release, a lens adapter for their old lenses. So you have hundreds and hundreds of old Nikon lenses out there that you can use for this right away, and they'll be hopefully totally supported. Hopefully you won't lose any speed in terms of autofocus, and you won't lose any quality. But that's the biggest thing. Everybody who's ever looked at a mirrorless system or any other camera of what they're using, what's their biggest concern? Especially if they're an established photographer. If they're a new photographer, it doesn't really matter. You can go with anything, whatever works for you. But if you're an established photographer and you have all this kit, you're gonna have to either adapt your glasses, your lenses, or you're gonna need to just get rid of them and get a whole new line of lenses. And lenses are expensive. That's like your biggest cost for photographers. If you buy like a $3,000 camera body and like 4 lenses, each lens could be anywhere from $1,000, $1,500, $5,000. Lenses can get super expensive depending on what you're getting. There's like no limit to how expensive lenses can get. Don't even talk to me about cine lenses. Overall, though, I think it's a good starting point for Nikon for this. It's pretty much exactly what I kind of expected in terms of feature set. That I was, kind of crossing my fingers that, if they're going to come out with something and they don't want to die right away, I mean, I don't really care either way, but if they don't want to get their ass kicked right out of the gate, they better come out with something at least on par with what's out now with Sony, because that's obviously the market leader in terms of mirrorless cameras, and they're really eating it up. So it behooves Nikon to match that, and that's what they're doing with these 2 cameras. They're pretty much, not quite, matching most of the features from Sony. There's some other features they beat Sony at, but some are not as good. So it's kind of a wash, depending on what you're needing. If you need the 2 memory card slots, you got to go with that with Sony right now, or stick with your old DSLRs. I'm gonna take a picture of this sunrise. But again, competition is always great. Now, one photographer mentioned a good, point that Canon right now is in a good position. It could be a good or a bad position, depending on what you're thinking. Is that since they haven't announced what they're coming out for mirrorless, okay. On one hand, Nikon beat them to the punch with their release, but at the same time, Nikon beat them to the punch. Canon can look at what they came out with and beat them feature to feature. Now, of course, I'm sure Canon has their stuff already in development, so if they can add to whatever they got based on what Nikon's got, I don't know. But either way, it's going to be very interesting over the next year what's going to happen with camera technology and all that. And I'm excited just as a photographer, just kind of look at it. I love tech. I love all this kind of stuff. Definitely look at channels like Matt Granger, Jared Polin. They came out with really good videos, kind of giving you the overview of these cameras. And yeah, check out the Nikon Z6 and Z7. They should be pretty good for the market. That's it for today, I think. We'll talk to y'all later. Everybody have a good day. I love you.